Hey folks, my name's Todd Bell, and on behalf of Bellcom Training, I'd like to thank you for joining me today for video 7 of our Transparent Communication series. And today we're going to talk about something really important. At least I think it is a big part of the Transparent Communication series. The process, the importance of transparent communication, and that item that I'm going to talk to you about today is nonverbal communication. That is extremely important. It's something that a lot of people don't put enough stock in, and they really should. And before we get into points here, let's take a look at the Mehrabian study. You've heard me talk about this. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've probably heard me mention the Mehrabian study. If you've been into any of my classes, if it has anything to do with communication, I'm going to bring up the Mehrabian study. And there is a very important reason why. If you look right here, you're going to see Albert Mehrabian. And Albert, he created a very cool study that focuses on 3 elements of the communication process. All right, and that is, and sometimes they refer to it as the 7-38-55 rule, where 7% of the communication process is the words you're actually using. 38% of that communication process is the voice and tone of what you're saying. Remember that old saying, it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. That is extremely important. I mentioned that in many classes as well and in previous videos. But the big focus today is going to be on the nonverbal part of the communication process, which according to Albert, 55% of that process, the communication process, has to do with our body language. That's the point. That is how important nonverbal or body language is to the communication process. And this really gets amplified if you interject feelings and emotions. And let's say, just to give you an example, let's say you're in a team meeting and 2 people's, well, maybe their egos are getting in the way and they are getting elevated and they're starting to get a little louder. Maybe some friction is starting to build in the room. Guess what? 7-38-55 rule. The Mehrabian study is going to start to come into play, and you're going to see it from a front row seat. This is how we work as people. This is how we communicate. So here we are. The topic is transparent communication. Yes, the importance of non-verbal communication to the element of transparent communication cannot be overemphasized. Such things as your eye contact, your handshake posture, body movements. I'm going to get into a few more here in just a second. This is crucial, yet it's important to say this. A lot of people struggle here simply because they're not aware of what their body is saying. They may be saying this, but their body is saying something different. Just take eye contact, for example. How many times have you been in a discussion with someone and their eyes are wandering? They're looking around. There's a lot to be said there. I try to tell everybody, when you are talking to someone, try to make eye contact with them. Look them in the eye. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I'm just going to hit on one of the biggest reasons that you already know. Remember, that person is looking around. Their eyes are shifting. They're not looking at you. How do you feel? And I know the answer to this. You immediately, by default, are going to think that this person isn't being truthful with you. Now, there's a lot of other things that may be going on that might be going through your mind about this person, but typically, one of the biggest things that are going to come to the front is this person is not being truthful with me. And what did we mention about transparent communications from the very beginning? It's truthful. It's honest communication. So your eyes are going to telegraph a lot to that individual that you're talking to. Make eye contact. Handshake. I like a good firm handshake. Not somebody crushing my hand, but if you're going to shake my hand, show me some confidence. If you don't, if I get the wet potato handshake, it tells me you're not confident, which again may allude to deception. So these little things, they add up. They really do. Your body posture. When somebody has their body in a good posture, a lot of good things can come from that. For your example, or for your own information, if you have good body posture, it allows you to breathe easier, which will allow you to speak clear. Yes, but if you're slouched over, your diaphragm is compressed. It's going to make it harder for you to breathe. Just something simple. And if you are struggling to communicate because you can't breathe, you're setting off other red flags. Body movements, little things that we do as individuals. We each have our own little tics, our quirks. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just something that you should be aware of. What I tell people all the time in my presentation class, film yourself. Spend 5-10 minutes talking to a camera, like I am right now, and watch that video back. You're going to pick up on little body movements, little quirks that you have that will maybe set somebody off or show deception again. And it's not your intent, it's just something that we all do. We do our own little thing, but now if you videotape yourself, you see it, you can work on it. Being aware is part of the cure. Okay, facial expressions. I tell people all the time, watch what you do. Watch what you do with your face. Look people in the eye, and when you're talking to them, smile. That's the best thing to do, because when you're smiling, you're showing your teeth, you're actually speaking clear, which is part of the aspects of speech. Yes. And you come across as authentic. And that is huge when it comes to transparent communication. Then finally, silence. You know, there's so many different ways I can go here, but I'm going to put it in this perspective. Silence is okay. When you're talking to someone, and then it's their turn, if they start contributing to the conversation, let them talk. Silence is a beautiful virtue, and when you allow somebody else to speak, that's good. But what if you have your point and you stop, and then there's that awkward silence? That's okay. Let it there. Common misconception is, oh, it's awkward. Maybe I should just start talking again. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to start talking. People start filling the dead space with other things that maybe they shouldn't. So is silence okay? Yes. Maybe that individual that you're talking to is absorbing what you just spoke to them about, and they're thinking about it. They're digesting and thinking of how they want to respond to you. That's all good. Have silence. Give that silence. And then when somebody does start to speak up and they're talking to you, again, good active listening skills. Lean in. Nod. But silence from your aspect is not a bad thing. I mean, occasionally, oh yeah. Those things are good, but overall silence, giving that person the floor to speak, is a beautiful thing. Okay, so where am I going with this? And this is just a brief discussion about nonverbal body language as far as it goes and pertains to transparent communication. My advice to you is film yourself, watch how you speak, and look for those little things that you are projecting when you speak. Some are going to be really good. Some you may pick up on are not so good. This is a great opportunity for you to correct some of those little things, because how you speak with your body, especially if you are saying one thing and your body is saying the exact opposite, you're sending conflicting messages. And again, what's the definition of transparent communication? Honest, truthful communication. If you're sending mixed signals, you're not being genuine, and people are not going to believe that you are speaking to them transparent.